I sold my house. I disappeared without telling a soul. I changed cities. I changed my life. I changed everything. And now as I look out the window of this small apartment that is mine and mine alone, where no one yells at me, where no one uses me, where no one plots to steal the only thing I had left, I'm going to tell you why I did it. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from, because at 68 years old, I had to run from my own son like I was escaping a predator. And that's exactly what Alan became to me, a predator. And his wife Carol, along with her entire family of vultures, were the perfect accomplices to my destruction. But I didn't let myself be destroyed. I made a decision that many would call extreme. Others would say I overreacted. But for me, it was the only way to survive. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll understand why I don't regret a single thing. It all started 3 months ago on a Tuesday afternoon. One of those gray March days where time seems to move slower than usual. I was in the kitchen of the house my sister Jennifer left me, the house that had been my sanctuary for 5 years since she passed. The afternoon light filtered through the lace curtains she'd hung herself, creating patterns on the worn linoleum floor we'd meant to replace but never did. Alan and Carol had been especially distant for the past few weeks. Whispered phone calls that stopped abruptly when I entered a room. Doors closing. Knowing glances that didn't include explanations. I tried not to think too much about it. After all, they'd been married for 4 years now, and I'd learned to give them their space. They'd been living with me for almost 3 years, ever since Alan lost his job at the tech startup. "Just temporarily, Mom," he'd said, "until we get back on our feet." That was 32 months ago. But who's counting Carol had never liked me. I knew that from the first day Alan brought her home for Thanksgiving dinner. The way she looked at me like I was outdated furniture taking up too much space, like I was something that needed to be updated or removed. But Alan seemed happy with her, and that was all that mattered to me. God, what a fool I was. That Tuesday, Alan came into the kitchen where I was preparing dinner. Pot roast, his favorite since he was 7 years old. I still made it every Tuesday, even though half the time he texted to say they were eating out. He had that expression I'd learned to recognize over the past few years. That mixture of anticipated guilt and discomfort. That look that always came before the requests. "Mama, I need you to loan me some money. Mama, we're going to stay here a few more months until we find something. Mama, Carol's stressed. Try not to bother her." Always Mama when he needed something. But never Mama when it came to including me in his plans, his joys, his real life. I turned toward him with a smile that came automatically by now. That mother's smile that endures everything, forgives everything, never says no. "Alan, honey, what's wrong?" He didn't look me directly in the eyes. Instead, he focused on the cutting board where I was slicing carrots. "Mom, I need your credit cards. All 3 of them." Something inside me tensed. My hands stopped moving. The knife remained suspended in midair. "All 3, I asked carefully. "What for, sweetheart?" He shrugged with that indifference that had become so familiar, so painful. "Carol and I have some urgent expenses this week. Medical bills for her mother. She's not doing well, some heart thing. We need to cover treatments. I'll give them back to you on Monday. Promise." Medical bills. For Patricia. Carol's mother, who I had met exactly twice in 4 years, both times at restaurants where she'd spent the entire meal on her phone. "What's wrong with Patricia?" I asked, setting down the knife. "Is she okay? Should I send flowers or—" "It's handled, Mom," Alan interrupted. "We just need the cards. Please, it's important." The way he said please made my chest ache. It sounded like the little boy who used to say please when asking for one more bedtime story. One more glass of water. One more hug. I reached for my purse on the counter. Inside my wallet were 3 credit cards. Carefully maintained, never maxed out. My emergency fund, basically. Card 1 had an $8,000 limit. Card 2 had $7,500. Card 3 had $6,000. $21,500 total. My safety net. The cushion that let me sleep at night knowing I could handle an emergency. A broken furnace. A medical crisis. A roof repair. "You'll have them back Monday?" I asked, pulling out the cards. "Monday, absolutely." He still wasn't looking at me. I handed them over. All 3. Our fingers touched briefly, and I noticed his were cold. Or maybe mine were. Alan took the cards without even saying thank you. He just nodded, mumbled a quick "see you later," and walked out of the kitchen. I heard him say something to Carol in a low voice in the hallway. I heard her laugh, a laugh that sounded like victory, and something inside me knew. In that moment, I knew I'd just made a terrible mistake, but I still didn't know how terrible. The next 3 days were strange in a way I couldn't quite name. Alan and Carol practically disappeared from the house. They left early before I woke up most mornings and came back late, slipping into their room like ghosts. When I asked where they'd been, the answers were vague. Running errands. Handling business. Don't worry, Mom. Don't worry, Mom. Those 3 words had become a wall between us. I tried to check my credit card activity online, but every time I logged in, the system told me there was an error. Please try again later. I called the bank on Thursday morning, standing in my small kitchen with the phone pressed to my ear. Everything appears to be in order, Mrs. Torres, the customer service representative said cheerfully. No problems with your account. But something didn't feel right. Friday night, Alan came into my bedroom. I was already in my nightgown, sitting on the edge of the bed Jennifer and I had picked out together at a estate sale in 2019. She'd convinced me to buy the mahogany frame. It's a real piece, Michelle. It'll outlast both of us. She'd been right about the bed, wrong about herself. Mom, Alan said from the doorway, Carol and I are going out of town for the weekend. Some friends invited us to their place in Sedona. We might stay until Wednesday. I need to decompress from work. It seemed odd. Alan never took spontaneous trips. He was a planner just like his father David had been. Everything scheduled, everything organized. That sounds nice, honey, I said, folding my hands in my lap. Have fun. He lingered in the doorway for a moment. For a second, I thought he might say something else, something real. But then Carol called his name from down the hall, and the moment passed. See you next week, he said. He left without a hug, without a kiss on the forehead like when he was a boy. He just left. And I remained sitting on that bed, staring at the walls of the room where I'd cried so many nights after David died, wondering when exactly I'd lost my son. At what moment had the sweet boy who used to hug me and tell me I was his favorite person in the world turned into this cold stranger who barely looked at me? Saturday morning, I woke to a silence that felt wrong. You know that feeling when a house is too quiet, when the absence of sound becomes its own kind of presence? Alan and Carol were already gone. No note, no text message, no indication of what time they'd be back or where exactly in Sedona they were staying. I made coffee in the kitchen Jennifer and I had painted yellow together. Sunflower yellow, she'd called it. A happy color for a happy room. The kitchen didn't feel happy that morning. It felt empty. I sat at the small breakfast table with my coffee, trying to shake off the feeling of unease that wouldn't let me breathe right. I turned on the television for company, but I couldn't concentrate on anything. My eyes kept drifting toward the closed door of Alan and Carol's room, the room that used to be my sewing space, the room I'd given up when they got married and needed privacy. Privacy to conspire against me, as it turned out. But I didn't know that yet. I spent the morning cleaning my anxiety response since childhood. When I'm nervous, I clean. I scrubbed the kitchen until it gleamed. I vacuumed the living room. I organized the linen closet. And when I finished with the common areas, I stood in front of Alan and Carol's bedroom door. Normally, I respected their space. I never entered without permission. But that day, something pushed me forward. Some instinct I couldn't name. I'll just open the window, I told myself. Air it out a little, that's all. I turned the doorknob. It wasn't locked. The smell hit me immediately, Carol's expensive perfume. Something French with a name I couldn't pronounce. The scent always seemed too intense to me, too aggressive. I walked to the window and opened it. Fresh air rushed in, cool and clean. I turned to leave. That's when I saw it. Carol's iPad on the desk. The old one she'd replaced 6 months ago with a newer model. It was plugged into the charger screen, lit up with notifications. My hand moved before my brain could stop it. I picked up the tablet. No passcode. Carol was careless about security, always had been. The screen showed several open applications, and there at the top I saw notifications from a messaging app. Dozens of them. From a group chat named Family Plans. My heart started beating faster. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew I was invading their privacy. But something stronger than propriety made me tap that notification. And in that moment, my entire life changed. The group chat had hundreds of messages. I scrolled to the most recent ones, my hands already beginning to tremble. The first message I saw was from Carol, sent that very morning at 10:30 a.m. Carol just checked into the Fontainebleau. 5 stars. The ocean view is insane. Ocean view. Sedona was landlocked. In Arizona. Nowhere near an ocean. I scrolled up. More messages. Patricia Brennan. Enjoy it, honey. You deserve this trip after dealing with her for so long. Her. Capital letters, they were talking about me. Carol Mom don't call her that in writing, but yeah, she literally gave us the cards without even asking what for. My vision blurred. I had to blink several times to clear it. Robert Brennan. I told you she was the perfect target. Old, lonely, desperate for family target. They called me a target. Carol, and if she does notice the charges, will say it was fraud. We'll help her dispute it. She'll be so grateful we're protecting her. I felt like someone had dumped ice water over my head. My whole body went cold. I kept scrolling. The messages got worse. Patricia booked spa appointments for tomorrow. $850 each. She's paying for my hot stone massage Carol dinner reservation at Zuma tonight. $400 per person. Think we can hit $20,000 by the time we go home. $20,000. They were planning to spend $20,000 of my money, my emergency fund, my safety net. Alan Guys. Isn't $20,000 too much? For a moment, hope flickered in my chest. Maybe Alan would stop this. Maybe my son still had a conscience. Robert's son, in 6 months, you'll control $650,000 plus in assets. This is a $20,000 investment in your future. Besides, she'll never notice. Old people don't check statements carefully. $650,000 in assets. What were they talking about, Carol? And if she does, we'll say it was fraud. We'll help her dispute it. She'll be so grateful we're protecting her. It actually makes us look better. I had to sit down. My legs literally gave out. I sank onto the edge of their bed, the iPad clutched in my shaking hands. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. But it was. I forced myself to keep reading. I needed to know everything. All of it. I scrolled back further. 2 hours earlier. Patricia, everyone remember. When we get back Wednesday, Operation Sad Face. We're devastated about my health scare. Michelle will feel so bad for doubting us if she even thought about checking. Alan, cry a little when you hug her. Really sell it, Operation Sad Face. They had a name for it. They'd rehearsed this. Patricia wasn't sick. There was no heart condition. It was all a lie to get my credit cards. Carol, I'll make her favorite cookies as a thank you. Butter her up for phase 2, the power of attorney, power of attorney. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the iPad. I gripped it tighter and kept scrolling. Robert, the lawyer has the documents ready. We'll present it as making things easier for her. She'll sign within a week. Trust me, they were going to trick me into signing a power of attorney. Give them control over my finances, my house, everything. I scrolled back further. 3 months ago, January 2026. Carol, Operation Secure the Asset. Phase 1 begins today. Alan's mom asked if we're moving out soon. I told her we're still looking asset. They called me an asset. Not a person. Not a mother. An asset to be secured. Patricia Good. The longer you're in the house, the more control you establish. Did you find the deed yet, Carol? It's in her bedroom safe. Combination is her wedding anniversary, she told me when she wanted me to get her jewelry cleaned. I took photos. Sending now, they'd been in my safe. They'd photographed the deed to my house. The house Jennifer left me. My sister's final gift. I felt bile rise in my throat. Robert, excellent. I'll have our lawyer draft the power of attorney documents. We'll say it's for helping her manage bills. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't opportunistic. This was a calculated long-term plan. I scrolled back even further. 4 months ago, November 2025. Alan, my Aunt Jennifer made Mom promise on her deathbed, never sell this house, it's your safety net. Don't let anyone pressure you. She made Mom swear on the Bible, yes, I had promised. Jennifer had held my hand in her hospital bed, her fingers so thin I could feel every bone. The cancer had stolen everything from her except her fierce determination to protect me. Promise me, Michelle, she'd whispered. This house is your safety. Don't let anyone take it. No matter what they say, no matter how they pressure you. This is yours. Swear it. And I had sworn, on the Bible, on our mother's memory, on everything sacred between us. Carol, that's actually perfect for us. Alan, how is that perfect? Mom takes that promise seriously, Patricia, because deathbed promises create emotional resistance. When we eventually get her to sign over the house, her guilt about breaking the promise will make her passive. She'll be too ashamed to fight back or tell anyone my sister's dying wish. They were going to use my sister's dying wish as a weapon against me. Robert, exactly. Guilt is the best silencer. I've seen it 100 times in estate cases I couldn't breathe. Literally couldn't get air into my lungs. I bent forward, gasping, the iPad sliding from my hands onto the bed. Jennifer, my baby sister, the one who'd held my hand through David's funeral, the one who'd given me this house so I'd never be vulnerable again. And they were going to use her love, her final act of protection, to destroy me. I made it to their bathroom just in time. I vomited until there was nothing left. Then I vomited some more. When I could stand again, I went back to the bed. I picked up the iPad with shaking hands. I had to know everything, all of it, no matter how much it hurt. I scrolled to 3 months ago. Carol, I've been canceling her social plans accidentally. Last week I told her book club that she said she wasn't feeling well. Today I forgot to mention her neighbor invited her to lunch book club. I'd wondered why Sandra hadn't called, why the group had stopped including me in their monthly meetings. It wasn't because they'd forgotten about me. It was because Carol had told them I was sick, or too tired, or not interested. Patricia, perfect isolation protocol. Also, have you started the medication diary, Carol? What medication diary? Robert, document every pill she takes, even vitamins. When we go to court, we'll say she's confused about her medications and needs supervision. Judges love medication, mismanagement as evidence. They were going to claim I was incompetent, unable to care for myself, a danger to myself. Alan, this feels wrong. Really wrong. Yes, Alan. It is wrong. Carol, baby, do you want our kids to grow up in a cramped apartment or in a beautiful house with a backyard? Your mom is going to a nice assisted living facility. She'll make friends, play bingo. It's better for her anyway, assisted living. They were going to put me in a facility. Take my house. The house Jennifer died to protect. I found a folder in the chat labeled with a paperclip icon. I tapped it. A spreadsheet opened. The title read Michelle's Assets, Complete Inventory. Every account I had was listed. My checking account at Wells Fargo, my savings account, my credit card limits itemized exact. Card 1 $8,000, card 2 $7,500, card 3 $6,000. But there was more. My CD account at Bank of America, Sexogalfieres $2,000, money I'd saved over 20 years of working double shifts as a medical billing specialist. My stock portfolio, at 100 day of Femoctuve $2,000. The inheritance from Jennifer's life insurance policy that I'd invested and never touched. Total liquid assets, $235,500. And then at the bottom, house value, $420,000. Total target, $655,500. I stared at that number, $655,500. That's what I was worth to them. Not as a mother, not as a human being, as a target. There was a note in the spreadsheet typed in Carol's distinctive style, all lowercase lots of emojis. Timeline conservatorship by September 2026. House transfer by December 2026. Facility placement by February 2027. Once she's in Sunnydale, the cheap one, not the nice one, LOL, we sell the house and split proceeds. Robert gets 15% consulting fee, we keep the rest. The cheap one. They were going to put me in the cheap facility and pocket the difference. And Robert, Carol's father, the financial advisor, was going to get paid for helping them rob me. I scrolled to the current day's messages. The ones from Miami, not Sedona. Robert, I upgraded us to the penthouse suite. 3 bedrooms, ocean view. $2,400 per night. Michelle's card approved $2,400 per night. On my emergency credit card. Patricia booked spa appointments for tomorrow. $850 each. She's paying for my hot stone massage Carol dinner reservation at Zuma tonight. $400 per person. Think we can hit $20,000 by the time we go home. There were photos. Carol in a designer dress on a hotel balcony, champagne glass raised to the camera. Patricia in a white spa robe giving a thumbs up. Robert at an expensive restaurant holding up a massive steak. And Alan, my son, my baby boy, standing on the beach in new swim trunks, arm around Carol, smiling like he hadn't a care in the world. All of them, celebrating, having the time of their lives, on my money, while planning to destroy me. I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes, hours. The sun moved across the sky. The room grew darker. I held that iPad like it was evidence at a crime scene, which I supposed it was. Every message was a knife. Every plan a betrayal. Every emoji a mockery of everything I'd sacrificed. I raised Alan alone after David died. Alan was 8 years old when his father had the heart attack. 8 years old when I became a widow with a mortgage and a child and a future that had suddenly become terrifyingly uncertain. I worked 2 jobs, medical billing during the day, cleaning offices at night. I came home smelling like industrial cleaner and instant coffee. I was so tired some days I could barely stand, but I paid for his school supplies, his soccer leagues, his college application fees, his full tuition at UC Santa Barbara because he wanted to study computer science, and I wanted to give him every opportunity I never had. I gave him this house when he needed a place to live. I gave him my credit cards when he asked. I gave him everything. And he gave me this. The tears came then. Not gentle tears. Violent, body-shaking sobs that made me double over on their bed, clutching that iPad to my chest. I cried for the son I'd lost. For the boy who used to hold my hand in parking lots. For the teenager who'd made me Mother's Day cards with terrible poetry. For the young man who'd hugged me at his college graduation and said, "I couldn't have done this without you, Mom." That person was gone. Maybe he'd never existed. Maybe I'd invented him, created a fantasy of motherhood that was never real. But the man in those messages, the one who called me a target, who planned to steal my house, who was going to use my dying sister's love against me, that man was real. And that man was my son. Sometime after dark, I stopped crying. I sat up. My face was swollen. My eyes burned. My throat hurt from sobbing. But something inside me had changed. I looked around their room at Carol's expensive clothes hanging in the closet, at Alan's tech magazine stacked on his nightstand, at the framed photo of their wedding day on the dresser where I stood in the background, smiling, naive, stupid. I picked up the iPad again. I opened the camera roll. I took screenshots. Every single message, every plan, every insult, every detail of their scheme. 237 screenshots total. I uploaded them all to a new cloud storage account I created right there sitting on their bed. An account they didn't know about. An account they couldn't access. Then I opened my laptop, the old Dell that Jennifer had bought me for my birthday 3 years ago. I created a new document. I titled it, "What I Need to Do." And I started writing. 1. Find a lawyer. Monday morning. 2. Protect my assets. Immediately. 3. Document everything. 4. Sell the house before they can take it. 5. Disappear. I stared at that last word. Disappear. Could I do it? Could I actually walk away from my son, from the only family I had left? I looked at the iPad again. Scrolled to one particular message from Carol. She'll be too ashamed to fight back. Guilt is the best silencer. They were counting on my shame, my guilt, my love. They were counting on me being too weak, too old, too afraid to protect myself. They were wrong. I saved the document, closed my laptop, stood up. It was 11:47 p.m. on Saturday night. I walked to the kitchen and made myself tea. My hands were steady now, perfectly steady. I had 6 days before they came back. 6 days before they walked through that door expecting to find the same doormat mother they'd left behind. 6 days to become someone else. Someone they would never see coming. I sat at Jennifer's yellow kitchen table and opened my laptop again. The first search, estate lawyers near me. The second search, how to sell a house fast. The third search, new life, new beginning, how to start over at 68. And as the clock ticked past midnight into Sunday morning, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not happiness, not peace. Power. The power that comes from finally putting yourself first. Jennifer had given me this house to protect me, and I was going to honor that gift, not by keeping the house, but by saving myself. I took out my phone, sent a text to my cousin Rita in Santa Fe. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years, but we'd been close as girls. "Rita, it's Michelle. I know this is out of nowhere, but I need help. Can I call you in the morning? It's urgent." The response came 3 minutes later. Call any time. Are you okay? I looked around the kitchen, at Jennifer's yellow walls, at the house that had been my sanctuary, at the life I was about to leave behind. I will be, I typed back. I promise, I will be. And for the first time in 3 months, maybe in 3 years, I believed it. I woke up on the living room sofa at 6:47 a.m. Sunday morning. My neck ached from the awkward angle. My eyes felt like sandpaper, but my mind was crystal clear. I made coffee in Jennifer's kitchen. My kitchen, I reminded myself, and sat at the table with my laptop. The morning light coming through those lace curtains looked different somehow, sharper, more real. I had Rita's response waiting when I checked my phone. Michelle, call me right now. I'm worried. Whatever it is, we'll handle it. You're not alone. I dialed her number. She picked up on the first ring. Michelle, Jesus, you scared me. What's happening? I told her everything. The credit cards, the messages, the Miami trip disguised as Sedona, the plan to declare me incompetent, the timeline to steal my house and put me in the cheap facility. Rita listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. Those bastards, she finally said. Her voice was shaking with rage. Michelle, those absolute bastards. Alan is your son. How could he? I don't know, I said quietly. I've been asking myself that all night. I don't think I'll ever understand. What are you going to do? I looked at my list from last night. What I need to do. I'm going to sell the house, I said. This week, before they get back on Wednesday. I'm going to protect my money, pack my things, and disappear. Disappear where? I paused. Santa Fe. If you'll have me, just until I figure out what comes next. Of course I'll have you. Michelle, you can stay as long as you need. Forever if you want. But are you sure selling the house? That's Jennifer's. Jennifer gave me that house to protect me, I interrupted. Not to trap me. If I keep it, they'll find a way to take it. This way at least I control what happens. Rita was quiet for a moment. You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, what do you need me to do? Just be there when I arrive. That's all. I'm here. Always. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started making calls. At 9:03 a.m., I left a voicemail with Sterling & Associates, the estate law firm that had handled Jennifer's will. Mr. Sterling, this is Michelle Torres. Jennifer Torres was my sister. You handled her estate in 2021. I need urgent legal advice. Family matter. Financial abuse concern. Please call me back as soon as possible. He called back at 9:47 a.m. Mrs. Torres, I remember you. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Can you come to my office today? I have an opening at 2 p.m. I'll be there. I spent the next 4 hours documenting everything. I printed out bank statements showing my normal spending patterns, $200 to $300 per month, mostly groceries and utilities. I made a list of every account I had. I charged my phone fully and triple-checked that all 237 screenshots were backed up to the cloud. At 1:30 p.m., I put on my best dress, the navy blue one I'd worn to Jennifer's funeral, and drove to Sterling's office in downtown Phoenix. His office was small but organized. Bookshelves lined with legal volumes. A desk covered in neat stacks of papers. Thomas Sterling himself was in his early 60s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mrs. Torres, he said, standing to shake my hand. Please sit. Tell me what's happening. I told him. I showed him the screenshots, every single one. His expression grew darker with each image. This is textbook financial elder abuse, he said when I finished, with intent to commit conservatorship fraud. Mrs. Torres, you could have them all arrested. Your son, his wife, and her parents as co-conspirators. My hands were shaking. I don't want them arrested. I just want them powerless. I want to protect myself. Sterling nodded slowly. I understand. Let me ask you something. Do you want to maintain a relationship with your son after this? I thought about Alan's message in the group chat. This feels wrong, really wrong. But he'd done it anyway. He'd gone to Miami. He'd spent my money. He'd participated in every step of their plan. No, I said quietly. I don't think I do. Then here's what we're going to do. He pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Sterling's strategy was methodical, almost military in its precision. First, he said, we protect your assets, today, right now. We're going to call your bank and report those credit cards as unauthorized use. But Alan will get in trouble. Mrs. Torres, Sterling looked at me over his glasses. Your son is currently in Miami spending thousands of dollars of your money under false pretenses. That is unauthorized use. The question is, do you want to protect him or protect yourself? I thought about Carol's message. She'll be too ashamed to fight back. Protect myself, I said firmly. Good. Second, we're going to get you a full mental competency evaluation. This week. I know a psychologist who can see you tomorrow. We need medical documentation proving you're of sound mind. Dated this week. So when they try to claim you were confused when you sold the house, we have evidence to the contrary. They're really going to claim that, Mrs. Torres, they've already planned to claim it. Look at this. He pointed to a screenshot where Robert discussed documenting my medication confusion. My stomach churned. Third, Sterling continued, we sell the house. Fast. I have contacts with real estate investors who buy properties for cash. They can close in 3 to 5 days. You won't get full market value, maybe 30% less, but you'll get liquid assets they can't touch. How much less? Your house is worth about $420,000. An investor might offer $275,000 to $290,000 for a fast close. I did the math. I'd be losing $130,000 to $145,000. But I'd be keeping my freedom, my dignity, my life. Do it, I said. Fourth, we're going to draft a letter, a very specific letter. You're going to explain exactly what you discovered and what you've done to protect yourself. We'll have it delivered to the house on Thursday, the day after they return, by certified mail. That way you have proof they received it. What will the letter say? Sterling smiled grimly. Everything. Every detail of their plan. Every screenshot. Every step you've taken to protect yourself. And most importantly, a warning if they attempt to contact you, retaliate against you, or disparage you in any way, I will release all evidence to the police and the FBI. The FBI. Financial exploitation of the elderly is a federal crime, Mrs. Torres, especially when it crosses state lines, which it did when they went to Florida with your cards. The FBI takes this seriously. I sat back in my chair, overwhelmed. This is really happening, I whispered. Yes, but you're not a victim anymore. You're taking control. That's what matters. At 4:17 p.m., I sat in a small office at Wells Fargo with the branch manager, Roger. Not the same Patricia as Carol's mother. A different Patricia. A kind Patricia who listened with growing horror as I explained the situation. Mrs. Torres, I'm looking at your account activity right now, she said, her fingers flying across her keyboard. In the past 3 days, there have been charges totaling, oh my God, $18,450. The number hit me like a physical blow. $18,450. 3 days. They'd spent over $18,000 in 3 days. Can you show me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She turned her monitor toward me. Fontainebleau, Miami Beach, $720. 3 nights at $2,400 per night. Zuma, Miami, $1,847. Bal Harbor Shops, Gucci, $3,200. Lapis Spa, $1,700. Joe's Stone Crab, $894. The Forge Restaurant, $1,256. Versace, $2,353. The list went on and on. These charges are definitely from Florida, Patricia said. Miami specifically. Is that where your son said he was going? He said Sedona, Arizona. Patricia's expression hardened. Mrs. Torres, this is fraud. Clear fraud. Your son used your cards under false pretenses for unauthorized purchases. We need to file a formal report. What happens if we file? The charges will be disputed. Our fraud department will investigate. And Mrs. Torres, your son could face criminal charges. This is serious. I thought about 8-year-old Alan crying in my arms after his father died. Is Daddy ever coming back, Mommy? I thought about 22-year-old Alan at his college graduation hugging me. I love you, Mom. Thank you for everything. I thought about 42-year-old Alan in that group chat. She'll never notice. Old people don't check statements carefully. File the report, I said. At 10 a.m. Monday, I sat in Dr. Raymond Hayes' office. He was a psychologist. Sterling had recommended someone who specialized in competency evaluations for legal purposes. Mrs. Torres, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, Dr. Hayes said gently. Some might seem silly or obvious. Just answer honestly. There are no wrong answers. Okay? What day is today? Monday, March 10th, 2026. Who is the current president? I answered. Correctly. Can you count backwards from 100 by sevens? I did. 193, 86, 79, 72, 65. Can you tell me about your medications? I take lisinopril for blood pressure, 10 milligrams, once daily in the morning. I take a multivitamin, and low-dose aspirin. My doctor recommended it for heart health. Any confusion about your medications? Ever forget to take them? I use a pill organizer. Every Sunday night I fill it for the week. I've never missed a dose. Dr. Hayes made notes. Tell me about your finances. Do you manage your own accounts? Yes. I check my bank balance weekly. I pay my bills online. I've never missed a payment. I have 3 savings accounts, one for emergencies, one for property taxes, one for medical expenses. I have a CD that renews annually, and a small stock portfolio my sister left me. Any difficulty managing these accounts? None. The evaluation lasted 90 minutes. Memory tests, logic puzzles, questions about current events, math problems. At the end, Dr. Hayes smiled at me. Mrs. Torres, you're sharper than most 40-year-olds I evaluate. Your memory is excellent. Your judgment is sound. Your executive function is perfect. Anyone who claims you lack mental capacity is either lying or delusional. Can you put that in writing? I'll have the report ready by tomorrow, with my professional letterhead. Notarized. It'll be bulletproof. At 2 p.m., I met Diane Walker at a coffee shop on Camelback Road. Diane had been my realtor when Jennifer bought the house in 2019. I'd stayed in touch, Christmas cards, occasional lunches. Michelle, she hugged me. It's so good to see you, but you sounded stressed on the phone. What's going on? I'd practiced this lie. I needed Diane's help, but I couldn't tell her the full truth. Not yet. If I did, she'd insist I confront Alan. Give him a chance to explain. I couldn't afford that. I'm moving to Santa Fe, I said, to be near my cousin Rita. I've decided it's time for a change. The house is too big for just me. Too many memories of Jennifer. I need a fresh start. It wasn't entirely a lie, just incomplete. Oh, Michelle, Diane squeezed my hand. I understand. After losing Jennifer and David before that, sometimes we need new beginnings. But why sell so quickly? Rita found me a perfect little condo near her, but I need to move fast. The seller has other offers. I need cash. Can you help me sell this week? Diane's eyes widened. This week, Michelle, that's almost impossible. Even with a cash buyer, there are inspections, title searches, appraisals. I'll sell below market, 30% below. No inspection contingency, no repairs. As is sale. Can you find a buyer for that? Diane studied me carefully. Michelle, you'd be leaving a lot of money on the table. Are you sure? I thought about the spreadsheet. Total target, $655,500. I'm sure. Okay. Diane pulled out her phone. I know an investor. He buys properties for rental income, pays cash, closes fast. Let me call him. 20 minutes later, I had an appointment to show the house at 5 p.m. that same day. Marcus Wade was exactly what I expected. Mid-40s, expensive suit, calculating eyes. He walked through my house with a contractor in tow, making notes. Foundation's solid, the contractor said. Roof's got maybe 5 years left. HVAC is original, that'll need replacing soon. Kitchen's dated, Marcus said, running his hand along Jennifer's yellow walls. But good bones, good neighborhood. I stood in the doorway watching a stranger evaluate my life, my sister's gift, my sanctuary. Mrs. Torres, Marcus said, turning to me. I can offer $275,000. Cash. Close in 4 days. Thursday. The day after Alan and Carol returned. I need to close Wednesday, I said. Wednesday. Marcus frowned. That's tight. Title company would have to rush everything. It's possible, but I'll take $270,000 if you can close Wednesday. Marcus and his contractor exchanged glances. Deal, Marcus said. But I need to know why the rush. Are you in some kind of trouble? I'm not in trouble, I said honestly. I'm avoiding it. At 11 p.m. Monday night, I started packing. But not everything. Just essentials. From the closet clothes for different seasons, my winter coat, comfortable shoes, the navy dress I'd worn to Jennifer's funeral, from the bathroom medications, toiletries, the lavender soap Jennifer always bought me, from the living room photo albums, Jennifer as a girl grinning gap-toothed at the camera, Jennifer and me at Disneyland in 1987, Jennifer holding baby Alan, her face full of love. I took photos of David, our wedding day, him pushing young Alan on a swing, his last birthday before the heart attack. I took photos of young Alan, baby pictures, school pictures, his high school graduation, but I left behind every photo of adult Alan, every picture from the past 10 years. I couldn't look at them without seeing the stranger in the group chat. The hardest item was in a box in the hall closet, Alan's baby blanket, the blue one with white stars that he'd dragged everywhere until he was 5. I held it to my face. It still smelled faintly of baby shampoo, even after all these years. Or maybe I was imagining it. I remembered 3-year-old Alan sick with flu curled up on my lap, wrapped in this blanket. "Mommy, don't leave me." "Never, baby. Mommy's always here." I'd lied. I was leaving. But he'd left first. Years ago. The sweet boy who needed his mommy had been replaced by a man who called her a target. I folded the blanket carefully, put it in a box, taped it shut, wrote on the top, "Memories I can't keep." Tuesday morning I couldn't help myself. I checked Carol's iPad again. The group chat was still active, still celebrating. Carol, 9:34 a.m., last day in paradise, brunch at Juvia. $200 mimosas because why not, she's paying Patricia. Don't forget to buy souvenirs, get receipts. We'll claim it was all for her. Gifts from the trip we took to visit my sick mother. Robert Smart thinking. Tax deductible and covers our tracks. Alan, I feel sick about this. Literally sick. I barely slept last night. Carol, baby, we talked about this. Your mom is going to be fine. Better than fine. She'll be in a nice place with people her own age. No more worrying about maintaining a house. We're doing her a favor. They actually believed they were doing me a favor. Alan, I guess. I just wish... I don't know. I wish there was another way, Carol, there isn't. We've been over this 100 times. Now stop moping and get ready. We have a couples massage at 11. I closed the iPad. I couldn't read anymore. Tuesday afternoon I made phone calls. Arizona Public Service. Yes, I'd like to cancel my electricity service. Address is 2847 Saguaro Street. Cancel effective Thursday at noon. Southwest Gas, yes, I need to cancel service. Thursday noon. Cox Communications cancel internet and cable. Thursday. Phoenix Water Services disconnection on Thursday, please. Each call felt like cutting another thread tying me to this life. The customer service representatives all asked the same question. "May I ask why you're canceling?" "I'm moving," I said, which was true. What I didn't say, I'm moving so my son will come home to an empty, dark, silent house. So he'll know immediately that everything has changed. That the mother he thought he could manipulate is gone. Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. I sat in Sterling's conference room. Present were Thomas Sterling, Marcus Wade's lawyer, a mobile notary, and Diane Walker as witness. The stack of documents in front of me was intimidating. Property deed transfer, disclosure of sale, affidavit of mental competency signed by Dr. Hayes and notarized, irrevocable trust formation for my remaining assets. "Mrs. Torres," Sterling said gently, "once you sign these, there's no going back. The house will be Marcus Wade's property. Your son will have no claim to it. Are you absolutely certain?" I thought about Jennifer's promise. Never sell this house. But Jennifer had made me promise because she wanted me safe, protected. Selling the house was keeping that promise. It was the only way to stay safe. "I'm certain," she said. I signed, page after page, my hand steady. The notary stamped each page. The lawyers exchanged documents. And just like that, it was done. Marcus Wade's lawyer handed me a cashier's check. $270,000. 20 years of memories. Jennifer's final gift, my sanctuary, reduced to a piece of paper. But that piece of paper was freedom. At 11:30 a.m. I deposited the check at a different bank. Not Wells Fargo, a new account at Bank of America that Alan didn't know about. The teller's eyes widened at the amount. "This is quite a deposit, Mrs. Torres. Would you like to speak with a financial advisor about investment options? Not today. I just need it safe. The funds will be available in 24 hours. That's fine. I'm not in a hurry anymore. Because I'd already won. They just didn't know it yet. At 2 p.m., I walked through the empty house one last time. The movers had come that morning, taking everything to a storage unit in Santa Fe. Everything except the furniture I'd sold to Marcus Wade as part of the deal. My footsteps echoed in the empty rooms. In the kitchen, I could see Jennifer standing at the stove, making her famous tamales. "Michelle, you're putting in too much cumin. Here, let me show you." In the living room, I could see David on the couch, watching Sunday football. Alan curled up next to him, 7 years old, asking endless questions about the game. In the hallway, I could see 8-year-old Alan's height marks on the doorframe. We'd measured him every birthday. 3 feet 4 inches at age 5, 4 feet 1 inch at age 7, 5 feet 6 inches at age 13. I'd painted over those marks when Alan moved in with Carol. "Too childish," she'd said. I should have known then. In the master bedroom, I stood where Jennifer had held my hand after David's funeral. "You're going to be okay, Michelle. I promise. You're stronger than you know." "I don't feel strong," I'd sobbed. "You will. Someday you'll surprise yourself." She was right. I left one thing in the empty house. On the fireplace mantel, I placed Alan's baby blanket neatly folded. Next to it, a note. This belonged to the son I lost, the boy who used to tell me I was his favorite person in the world. I don't know what happened to him, but the man who came back from Miami is a stranger. Mom. At 3 p.m., Sterling handed me a manila envelope. "This is the letter," he said. "It will be delivered tomorrow at 2 p.m. via certified mail. The new owners have agreed to accept it and give it to whoever comes to the door." "Can I read it one more time?" Sterling pulled out a copy. "Dear Alan and Carol, by the time you read this, I will be gone. The house you planned to steal has been sold. The money you thought you'd inherit is secured in accounts you'll never touch. The credit cards you used without permission have been reported, and a fraud investigation is underway. I know everything. I found Carol's iPad. I read every message in the Family Plans group chat, every insult, every scheme, every step of your plan to declare me mentally incompetent, obtain power of attorney, steal my house, and put me in the cheap facility. You thought I was too old, too trusting, too ashamed to fight back. You were wrong. Attached to this letter are copies of 237 screenshots documenting your conspiracy. I've provided identical copies to my attorney, Thomas Sterling, the FBI Elder Abuse Division, Adult Protective Services, the California State Bar. Robert, they're very interested in a licensed financial advisor coaching his daughter to commit conservatorship fraud. I am not pressing criminal charges yet, but these agencies now have full documentation. If you attempt to find me, contact me, or disparage me in any way, Mr. Sterling will release everything to prosecutors. Alan, I raised you alone after your father died. I worked 2 jobs to give you opportunities I never had. I gave you a home when you needed one, and you called me a target. Carol, I welcomed you into my family with open arms, and you called me her and laughed about spending my money on spa treatments. Robert and Patricia, you coached your daughter to abuse a widow. You celebrated using psychological manipulation tactics on a 68-year-old woman. Whatever happens to your careers and reputations, you've earned it. Jennifer made me promise never to sell this house, but that promise was meant to protect me, not trap me. Selling it was the only way to save myself from you. Do not look for me. I no longer have a son named Alan. You ceased to exist to me the day I read Carol's message. She'll be too ashamed to fight back. I fought back, and I won. Michelle Torres. P.S. Alan, I left your baby blanket on the mantel. It belonged to a sweet boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. I don't know what happened to him. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope. It's perfect, I said. At 6:47 p.m., Diane drove me to the Greyhound station. Michelle, please reconsider flying, she said for the 3rd time. It's 20 hours by bus to Santa Fe. You could fly in 2 hours. I want the distance, I said. I want to feel every mile I'm putting between my old life and my new one. Diane hugged me tight in the parking lot. You're one of the bravest people I know. Call me when you arrive. I promise. On the bus, I chose a window seat near the back. The bus was half empty, mostly young people with backpacks and headphones. An older woman sat across the aisle. She smiled at me. Long trip. New life, actually. Isara said. She nodded knowingly. Sometimes that's the same thing. As the bus pulled out of Phoenix, I watched the city lights fade behind us. Somewhere in that city was my house. The house that was no longer mine. Somewhere in Miami, my son was probably packing, getting ready to fly home tomorrow. Probably practicing his sad face for Operation Grieving Son, whose mother-in-law is sick. He had no idea what was waiting for him. I pulled out my burner phone bought Tuesday at a convenience store with cash. I texted Sterling from the new number. I'm safe. I'm on the bus. Execute phase 2 if they contact you. Don't tell them where I am. Ever. His response came quickly. Understood. Safe travels, Michelle. You did the right thing. I turned off the phone and watched the desert pass by in darkness. I wasn't there to see it, but Sterling told me later what happened. Alan and Carol's flight landed at Sky Harbor Airport at 5:30 p.m. Thursday. They were laughing, relaxed, tanned from the Miami sun. Their luggage was stuffed with shopping bags, Gucci Versace designer clothes they'd bought with my money. I can't wait to shower, Carol said. That plain bathroom was disgusting. Should we pick up dinner for Mom? Alan asked. Maybe her favorite Chinese food. To say thanks for the cards. Good idea, Carol said. Butter her up before we present the power of attorney documents. Robert's lawyer said to strike while she's feeling grateful. They stopped at Panda Express, bought orange chicken and fried rice. Alan's treat using his own debit card this time since my cards had been reported stolen. They pulled into the driveway at 7:18 p.m. Weird, Alan said. All the lights are off. Mom usually has the porch light on. Maybe she's asleep, Carol said, checking her phone. It's late. Alan unlocked the door, stepped inside. Darkness. Complete darkness. Mom, he called. Mom, we're home. Silence. He flipped the light switch. Nothing. Power's out, Carol said, pulling out her phone flashlight. Alan tried the kitchen light. Nothing. Bathroom light. Nothing. This doesn't make sense, he said, his voice rising. The whole house can't be... He looked out the window. The neighbor's house was lit up like a Christmas tree. Alan, Carol's voice was strange. Where's the couch? Alan shined his phone light into the living room. Empty. The couch was gone. The TV was gone. The coffee table, the bookshelves, the family photos on the walls, all gone. What the fuck? Carol breathed. Alan ran through the house. Every room. Empty. Furniture gone. Closets bare. Walls naked. In the master bedroom, he found his and Carol's things, their clothes, their personal items piled in garbage bags in the center of the floor. On top of the pile, a note. New owners take possession 9 a.m. tomorrow. Please vacate immediately. Sterling and Associates Law Firm. New owners. Alan's voice cracked. What new owners? Carol was frantically scrolling her phone. Oh my God, Alan, the credit cards, they're all declined, and I have 47 missed calls from my dad. Alan's hands were shaking so badly he could barely dial Robert's number. Robert answered on the first ring. Where the hell have you been? Dad, what's happening? Mom's house is empty, and the bank called me as your emergency contact. They're pressing fraud charges, $18,000 in unauthorized charges. Michelle reported the cards stolen on Sunday. They want police involvement. Alan felt the floor tilt beneath him. Stolen, she gave me those cards. She says she didn't, says you took them under false pretenses. Alan, you're fucked. The bank has your signature, your ID from hotel check-ins. You're completely fucked. The phone slipped from Alan's fingers. Carol was still scrolling. Alan, look at this. She held up her iPad, the one she'd forgotten on her desk. The Family Plans group chat was highlighted, every message visible. She saw everything, Carol whispered. She knows everything. The doorbell rang at 8:03 p.m. Alan opened it to find a delivery driver. Certified letter for Michelle Torres. You family? I'm her son, Alan said numbly. He signed, took the thick manila envelope, the return address Sterling and Associates. Inside he found the letter, and beneath it, a USB drive labeled Evidence, 237 screenshots, Family Plans group chat. Alan's hands trembled as he read. I know everything. I found Carol's iPad. Every insult, every scheme. Carol read over his shoulder, her face going white. The FBI Elder Abuse Division, the California State Bar, Adult Protective Services. We're going to jail, Carol whispered. We're going to fucking jail. Alan kept reading. You called me a target. You called me her. You celebrated using psychological manipulation. The words blurred. His vision swam. I no longer have a son named Alan. You ceased to exist to me the day I read she'll be too ashamed to fight back. Alan sank to the floor, still clutching the letter. Mom, he whispered. Mom, what did I do? What did we do? Carol was pacing manic. We need to fix this. We need to call her. Apologize. Explain. Explain what? Alan screamed. That we spent months planning to steal her house. That we were going to declare her incompetent and lock her in a facility. What the fuck is there to explain, Carol? It was the first time he'd yelled at her in their entire marriage. Carol stared at him. Then she grabbed her purse. I'm going to my parents. We'll figure this out with lawyers. Real lawyers. Your parents are the reason we're in this mess. No, Alan, you are the reason. You and your stupid guilt and your weak spine. I told you she'd never notice. I told you old people don't check statements. But you were worried, and you were hesitant, and now she— Get out, Alan roared. Carol grabbed her bags and left. Alan sat alone in the empty house, his childhood home. The place his mother had opened to him when he needed help. The place he'd planned to steal. He found the baby blanket on the mantel, picked it up. It still smelled like his childhood, like safety, like unconditional love. He read the note attached to it. This belonged to the son I lost. And Alan Torres, 42 years old, sat on the floor of his mother's empty house and cried like the child he used to be. I arrived in Santa Fe at 2:34 p.m. Friday afternoon. Rita was waiting at the bus station. She looked older than I remembered, gray hair and a long braid, wearing a turquoise necklace and comfortable jeans. Michelle. She hugged me tight. Thank God. I've been worried sick. I'm okay, I says. And surprisingly, I meant it. Rita's house was a small adobe casita on the outskirts of town. Warm terracotta walls, exposed wooden beams, a small courtyard with a fountain. It's not much, Rita said, showing me the guest room. But it's yours as long as you need it. The room was simple, a bed with a colorful quilt, a dresser, a window overlooking the mountains. It was perfect. That night, Rita made pozole. We sat at her kitchen table and I told her everything I hadn't said on the phone. Every detail, every betrayal, every screenshot. When I finished, Rita reached across the table and took my hand. You're the bravest person I know, she said. I don't feel brave. I feel empty, like I lost something I can never get back. You did lose something, Rita said gently. You lost the son you thought you had. But Michelle, that son never existed. You lost an illusion. The real Alan, the one who planned to steal from you that person you're better off without. But I'm his mother. You should nothing. You've done your job. You raised him. You loved him. You gave him every opportunity. What he chose to do with all that, that's on him. Not you, I cried then. Not the violent sobs from Saturday. Quieter tears. Grief tears. Rita just held my hand and let me cry. A week after arriving in Santa Fe, I received an email from Sterling. Michelle weekly update as requested one. Bank reached settlement with Alan and Carol, $18,450, plus $4,200 interest and penalties. Payment plan $780 per month for 36 months. If they miss one payment, criminal charges will be reinstated. 2. Robert Brennan is under investigation by the California State Bar for ethics violations. Several clients have already left his practice. 3. Patricia and Robert have filed for separation. She's claiming he coerced her into the scheme. 4. Carol has moved back in with her mother. 5. Alan has attempted to contact you 14 times via my office. Each time I've informed him you do not wish to be contacted. He sent a letter. Do you want me to forward it? Sterling. I stared at that last line for a long time. A letter from Alan. Part of me wanted to read it, wanted to know if he was sorry, if he understood what he'd done. But a bigger part of me knew it didn't matter. Sorry doesn't undo betrayal. Apologies don't rebuild trust. I typed my response Thomas no, delete the letter unread. He had 42 years to be a good son. He made his choice. I'm making mine. Thank you for everything. Michelle. I hit send and closed my laptop. The Santa Fe mornings were different from Phoenix. Cooler, clearer. The air smelled like pinyon pine and sage instead of desert dust and car exhaust. I developed a routine in those first 2 weeks. Small things, ordinary things, things that were mine and mine alone. 6 a.m. wake up naturally. No alarm, no anxiety about what the day would bring. 6:30 a.m. coffee on Rita's patio, watching the sun paint the Sangre de Cristo Mountains gold and pink. 7:30 a.m. walk through the neighborhood. Adobe houses with bright blue doors. Gardens full of hollyhocks and lavender. Neighbors who smiled and said buenos dias without knowing anything about me, except that I was Rita's cousin. 9 a.m. volunteer at the public library, sorting donations, shelving books, helping elderly patrons navigate the computer system. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was an elderly patron now, 68 years old, helping other elderly people. But here no one called me old. No one treated me like a burden or a target. I was just Michelle, the new volunteer, Rita's cousin from Phoenix. It was enough. On my 3rd Thursday in Santa Fe, Rita dragged me to a meeting. It's not a church thing, she assured me as we pulled into the parking lot of Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. Well, it meets at a church, but Father Miguel runs it for everyone. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't have to be anything. What kind of meeting? Families in crisis. People dealing with difficult family situations. I think it might help. I wanted to say no. I wanted to go back to Rita's casita and hide in my quiet guest room. But Rita had opened her home to me. The least I could do was try. The church basement smelled like coffee and old hymnals. 8 people sat in a circle of folding chairs. Ages ranged from maybe 50 to late 70s. Father Miguel was younger than I expected. Late 50s, warm brown eyes, a gentle smile. "Welcome," he said, gesturing to an empty chair. "I'm Miguel. We're just getting started." I sat. Rita squeezed my hand and sat beside me. A woman across the circle was speaking. She looked to be in her early 70s, silver hair cut short, wearing a turquoise pendant. "It's been 18 months since I cut off my daughter," she said, her voice steady but sad. "People keep telling me, but she's family. Like that word erases abuse. Like DNA makes theft acceptable." Heads nodded around the circle. "What happened?" someone asked gently. "She tried to get me declared incompetent last year," the woman said. "Wanted my pension, my house. She had a lawyer and everything. I found out by accident when her lawyer accidentally called my number instead of hers." My chest tightened. "What did you do?" I asked before I could stop myself. The woman looked at me. "I got my own lawyer. I passed a competency evaluation with flying colors. I changed my will, and I told my daughter I never wanted to see her again." "Do you regret it?" She considered the question. "I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret protecting myself. Some people, even family, will destroy you if you let them." Father Miguel turned to me. "You're new. Would you like to share? No pressure, just if you feel comfortable." I looked around the circle. Strangers. People I'd never see again if I didn't come back. But something in their faces, the understanding, the lack of judgment, made me open my mouth. "My son planned to steal my house," I said quietly. "Him and his wife and her parents. They were going to declare me mentally incompetent, get power of attorney, put me in a cheap facility, sell everything my sister left me." Silence, but not shock, just recognition. "How did you find out?" Father Miguel asked. "I found their messages, hundreds of them, planning everything, calling me names, laughing about how easy it would be because I was old and trusting." "What did you do?" "I sold my house in 3 days, protected my money, wrote them a letter explaining exactly what I knew, and I disappeared. That was 3 weeks ago." More silence. Then the silver-haired woman spoke. "Good for you." "What?" I blinked at her. "Good. For you." She leaned forward. "Most people in your situation would have confronted their children, given them a chance to explain, fallen for the tears and apologies, ended up losing everything anyway. But he's my son, and you were his mother," she interrupted. "Which one of those relationships was honored?" I had no answer. After the meeting, the silver-haired woman approached me. "I'm Dorothy Huang," she said, extending her hand. "Retired English teacher, professional grandmother to my neighbor's kids since my own grandchildren aren't allowed to see me. Michelle Torres, retired medical billing specialist, professional. Nothing, I guess." Dorothy smiled. You're a survivor, Michelle. That's something. We went for coffee at a small cafe on Canyon Road. Dorothy ordered a cappuccino and biscochitos. I got tea. Tell me the whole story, Dorothy said, if you want to. And I did. Everything. The credit cards, the Miami trip, the iPad messages, the plan to declare me incompetent, the house sale, the escape. When I finished, Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. My daughter stole $40,000 from me, she finally said. Forged checks over the course of 2 years. When I confronted her, you know what she said. What, you were going to die soon anyway. I just got my inheritance early. Dorothy's voice was matter of fact, but her eyes were sad. That was 3 years ago. I haven't seen her since. Or my grandchildren. Don't you miss them? Every single day, Dorothy said. But I've learned something important. You can miss someone and still know that being around them is dangerous. Love and safety aren't always compatible. Those words hit me like a physical blow. I keep thinking I should have given Alan a chance to explain, I said. Maybe he would have Michelle. Dorothy put her hand over mine. Would an explanation change what he did? Would it give you back the months you spent being isolated and manipulated? Would it restore your trust? No. Then why do you need to hear it? I had no answer. That night I received another email from Sterling. Michelle Allen has sent 3 more letters to my office, each one more desperate than the last. He's begging to speak with you, just once. He says he's in therapy, says he's working on himself, says he finally understands what he did. I've been destroying the letters as instructed. But this latest one, he sounds genuinely broken, Michelle. I thought you should know. Do you want me to forward it just this once? No obligation to respond, just to read it. Your decision entirely. Sterling. I stared at my laptop screen for 20 minutes. Finally I typed, send it. But just this one. And then no more. Ever. The letter arrived in my inbox 10 minutes later. Mom, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to read this. Sterling has told me you don't want contact, and I respect that. I deserve that. But I need you to know something. Not because it changes anything. Just because I need to say it. I've spent the past month in therapy. Court-mandated at first part of the bank settlement. But I've kept going even after I met the minimum requirement. My therapist asked me a question I couldn't answer. When did you stop seeing your mother as a person? I couldn't answer because I don't know. Was it when Carol started talking about securing assets? Was it when her parents showed me spreadsheets and timelines? Was it earlier when I moved into your house and started feeling entitled to it? I don't know when it happened. But somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as my mom. I started seeing you as an obstacle, a problem to be managed, a resource to be utilized. That makes me sick, literally sick. I threw up when I read your letter, when I saw what we'd written about you in those messages. Target. Old woman. Too stupid to check statements. Jesus Christ, Mom. We talked about you like you were a mark in a con game. I lost everything. My wife left me. My job fired me after the background check revealed the fraud investigation. I'm working at a UPS warehouse now, night shifts loading trucks. I'm paying back the bank $780 a month for the next 3 years, but none of that is punishment enough for what I did to you. The worst part, the part that keeps me up at night, I remember being 8 years old crying in your arms after Dad died. You told me, I've got you, baby, always. And you did. You worked 2 jobs. You paid for my college. You gave me a home when I needed one. And I repaid all of that by planning to lock you in a facility and steal everything you had. I don't know who I became, Mom. I don't recognize that person in the group chat. But I know that person destroyed the best thing in his life. He destroyed his mother's trust, her safety, her home. He destroyed you. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I see it now. I see what I did. I see who I became. And I'm trying every single day to become someone better. Not for you. You don't owe me that. For me. Because I can't live with who I was. I love you, Mom. I know I have no right to say that after what I did. But it's true. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Alan Chud. I read the letter 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and cried. Not the violent sobs from the first night. Not the quiet grief from Rita's kitchen. These were different tears. Complicated tears. because part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to write back and say, I forgive you. Come to Santa Fe. Let's rebuild. But another part, the stronger part, remembered Carol's words. She'll be too ashamed to fight back. They'd counted on my love, my guilt, my maternal instinct to forgive. And if I gave in now, wouldn't I be proving them right? I showed the letter to Rita the next morning. She read it silently, her expression unreadable. What do you think? I asked when she finished. I think it sounds sincere, Rita said carefully. I also think sincerity doesn't undo damage. So I shouldn't respond. I didn't say that. Rita poured us both more coffee. Michelle, this isn't about what you should do. It's about what you can do, what's safe for you. I don't know what's safe anymore. Rita sat across from me. Okay, let me ask you something. If you responded to Alan, if you agreed to talk to him, what would you want from that conversation? I thought about it. I'd want to understand why he did it, how he could plan something so cruel. And if he explained if he had reasons that made sense to him, would that change anything? I don't know. Would it give you back the house Jennifer left you? No. Would it erase the months of isolation and manipulation? No. Would it restore your trust in him? I looked down at my coffee. No. Then what would it give you? I had no answer. Rita leaned forward. Michelle, I'm not saying don't forgive him. Forgiveness might come someday, or it might not. Either is okay. What I'm saying is forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still choose not to have them in your life. But he's my son, and you're a person who deserves safety, peace, a life without constant vigilance about whether your own child is planning to destroy you. The truth of those words settled over me like a weight. That afternoon I wrote back to Alan, not through Sterling, directly to the email address at the bottom of his letter. Alan, thank you for your letter. I believe you're sorry. I believe you're in therapy. I believe you're trying to become someone better. But believing you're sorry isn't the same as trusting you won't hurt me again. You asked when you stopped seeing me as a person. I can answer that. It was gradual. Every time Carol made a dismissive comment about me and you said nothing. Every time her parents talked about me like I was an asset and you nodded along. Every time you chose their version of reality over your own conscience. You didn't wake up one day and decide to destroy me, Alan. You made small choices over and over until the big betrayal felt inevitable. And that's what scares me most. Because if you could make those choices once, if you could be influenced, manipulated, convinced that stealing from your mother was acceptable, how do I know it won't happen again? I can't trust you, Alan. Maybe I never will. And I can't build a relationship on that foundation. I need you to understand something. I don't hate you. I don't wish you harm. But I also can't have you in my life. Not because you don't deserve forgiveness, but because I finally learned to put myself first. You're 42 years old. You're not my responsibility anymore. You made choices. Now you live with the consequences. And I get to live with mine. I hope you become the person you're trying to be. I genuinely do. But I won't be around to see it. Goodbye, Alan. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I blocked his email address. Spring arrived in Santa Fe with an explosion of color. The cottonwoods leafed out. Lilacs bloomed purple and fragrant. The plaza filled with tourists and artists selling jewelry and pottery. I rented a small one-bedroom apartment in the Rail Yard district. Nothing fancy, just 650 square feet with a galley kitchen and a tiny balcony. But it was mine. My name on the lease. My furniture. My rules. I decorated simply. Jennifer's quilt on the bed. Photos of her and David on the dresser. Plants in every window, succulents, herbs, a jade plant Rita had given me. No photos of adult Alan. Just one picture from when he was 5, gap-toothed and grinning, holding a soccer ball. That was the son I could remember. The rest I had to let go. I joined a pottery class at Rita's studio. Turned out I was terrible at it. My bowls were lopsided, my vases collapsed, but I loved it anyway. The feeling of clay between my fingers. The focus required. The meditation of creating something with my hands. I started tutoring ESL students at the library, helping immigrants learn English, watching their faces light up when they finally understood a difficult concept. One student, a woman named Rosa from Guatemala, reminded me of myself somehow. 65 years old, starting over in a new country, learning a new language, rebuilding a life after losing everything. You are brave, I told her after a particularly good session. She smiled. You too, Maestra Michelle. We are both brave. I met James Porter at the support group. He'd been coming for 2 years, Father Miguel told me. Mostly sat quietly listening, rarely shared. But one Thursday in June he spoke. My son stole $40,000 from me, he said, his voice rough with disuse. Forged checks. When I confronted him, he said I'd die soon anyway, so he was just getting his inheritance early. The same story Dorothy had told me. I realized with a start that Dorothy and James must know each other. That was 3 years ago, James continued. Haven't seen him since. Or my grandson. After the meeting, I approached him in the parking lot. I'm Michelle, I said. I'm sorry about your son. He looked at me with hazel eyes that had seen too much. I'm James, and I'm sorry about yours. We went for coffee. Just coffee. 2 survivors comparing notes. James was a woodworker, made furniture for charity beds for homeless shelters, bookcases for libraries, rocking chairs for senior centers. Keeps my hands busy, he said. Keeps my mind quiet. I understand that, I said. That's what pottery does for me, even though I'm terrible at it. He smiled. It transformed his face. I bet you're not as terrible as you think. We started meeting for coffee every Thursday after group. Just talking. About books about Santa Fe, about the weather. Never about our children. Never about the past. Just 2 people learning to be present. Christmas Eve arrived with snow. Rita invited me to her house for dinner. Just family, she said. You, me, Elena, and whoever else wants to come. I arrived at 6 p.m. with a green chili stew I'd learned to make. Rita's partner, Elena, answered the door, a warm, round woman who hugged me like we were old friends. Inside, I was surprised to see Dorothy and James. Family isn't just blood, Rita said, seeing my expression. It's who shows up. We ate dinner at Rita's big wooden table. Green chile stew, tamales, pozole, bizcochitos. Rita lit luminarias in the courtyard paper bags with candles inside the traditional New Mexico Christmas Eve tradition. After dinner, we sat around the fireplace. Elena played guitar. Rita sang old Spanish carols in a surprisingly beautiful voice. James sat next to me on the couch. Our shoulders touched. It felt comfortable. Safe. Are you happy here? He asked quietly while Rita and Elena sang. I thought about it. I don't know if I know what happiness is yet, but I know what peace feels like. And that's enough for now. I understand that, James said. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. A text message, Mom. I know you said not to contact you, but it's Christmas Eve and I just needed to hear your voice. Even if you don't speak, I turned off my phone. James noticed. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. And surprisingly, I meant it. Everything's okay. But the next morning, Christmas Day, my phone rang. I'd turned it back on to call Rita and wish her Merry Christmas. Alan's number showed on the screen. I stared at it. Let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, I answered. Hello. Mom. His voice was uncertain, hopeful, broken. Please don't hang up. I know I don't have the right. But it's Christmas and I needed to hear your voice. I said nothing. I'm not asking to see you, Alan rushed on. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Merry Christmas, Mom. That's all. Just Merry Christmas. Silence stretched between us. How did you get this number? I asked finally. I called every Torres in New Mexico until someone knew a Michelle who'd moved from Phoenix. I've been calling wrong numbers for 6 hours. I'm sorry. I know this violates boundaries. I'll hang up now. Alan, wait. He stopped. Thank you for the letter you sent. I read it. I believed it. You did? His voice cracked. Yes, but believing you're sorry doesn't mean I can trust you again. I know. I'm not asking for trust. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know I think about you every day. And I'm working on being someone who deserves a mother like you, even if that work is just for me now. My eyes stung. Alan, I need you to understand something. I don't hate you. I don't wish you harm, but I can't have you in my life. I understand. Not because you don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe you do someday. but because I'm finally learning to put myself first. And having you close would undo all that healing. I get it, Mom. I do. Maybe in a few years. Maybe never. I don't know yet. But what I do know is you're not my responsibility anymore. You made choices. Now you live with them, and I get to live with mine. Are you— His voice broke. Are you happy in New Mexico? I looked around my small apartment, at the jade plant on the windowsill, at Jennifer's quilt, at the pottery bowl I'd made lopsided but mine sitting on the counter. I'm learning how to be, I said. That's more than I had before. That's all I needed to know. Goodbye, Mom. I love you. I closed my eyes. I loved you too, Alan. The you I thought you were. Goodbye. I hung up, and then I blocked his number. New Year's Eve. James invited me to dinner. Nothing fancy, he said. Just dinner at my place. I'm making lasagna. Terribly, probably. But I'm trying. His house was a small adobe in the South Capitol District. Inside it smelled like tomato sauce and garlic bread. It's not terrible, I said, tasting the lasagna. It's actually good. You're lying, but thank you. We ate on his back patio under string lights he'd hung. The night was cold but clear. Stars filled the sky like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. Can I ask you something? James said. Of course. Do you ever regret it, cutting off your son completely? I thought about it. Honest thought, not automatic answer. I regret that it was necessary, I finally said. I regret that my son became someone I had to protect myself from, but the actual decision to leave, to disappear, no, I don't regret that. Even though you lost your house, your savings. I didn't lose my savings. I protected them. And the house? I paused. The house was Jennifer's gift to keep me safe. Keeping it would have meant losing that safety. Leaving was the only way to honor what she really wanted for me. James nodded. My therapist says something similar. She says sometimes the bravest thing we can do is walk away, even from family. Your therapist is right. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Michelle, James said softly, would you like to stay? Watch the fireworks from here. I have hot chocolate and terrible marshmallows. I smiled. I'd like that. At midnight, we stood on his patio watching fireworks bloom over the city, red and gold and silver against the black sky. James took my hand, just held it, nothing more. Happy New Year, Michelle. Happy New Year, James. And it was. It really was. December 2027, 1 year after I disappeared. I received an email from Sterling. My annual update, I'd asked him to send one each year just so I knew the legal situation was stable. Michelle annual update as requested one. Alan completed his payment plan to the bank. No longer in legal jeopardy. 2. He remarried not Carol, a woman named Sophia. Works as a junior accountant at a non-profit. Seems stable based on public records. 3. Never attempted contact again after your Christmas phone call last year. 4. Carol moved to Portland. Remarried as well. No attempt to contact you. 5. Robert Brennan lost his financial advisor license. Now works as an unlicensed consultant. Several former clients filed complaints. 6. Patricia Brennan is in assisted living. Memory issues. Ironic given the plan to fabricate your incompetence. You asked me to tell you when it's safe to let go of the evidence. In my professional opinion, it's safe. They've all moved on. You've moved on. You can destroy the files if you want. Or keep them. Your choice. One more thing, Alan sent a final letter to my office. He asked me not to forward it to you. He respects your boundaries. But he wanted me to know, in case you ever asked, that he's 1 year sober volunteering at a senior center teaching financial literacy and trying to give back what he took. He's not asking for contact. Just wanted you to know he's trying. Sterling, I read the email 3 times. Then I walked to my fireplace, pulled out the USB drive with all the screenshots, the evidence I'd kept for a year just in case. I held it in my palm. This tiny piece of plastic contained everything, every betrayal, every cruel word, every detail of their plan to destroy me. For a year it had been my insurance policy, my protection. But I didn't need protection anymore. I had a life they couldn't touch, friends who valued me, work that fulfilled me, a relationship with James that was growing slowly, carefully into something real. I threw the USB drive into the fireplace, watched it melt. Christmas morning, I woke up in my apartment. James was in the guest room. We were taking things slow, proper, respectful. But he'd stayed over after we'd watched It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas Eve. I made coffee, stood on my balcony watching snow fall on the rail yard. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. For a moment, my stomach clenched. Alan. But no, it was Rosa, my ESL student. Maestra Michelle, Merry Christmas. I passed my citizenship test. I am American now. Thank you for teaching me. You changed my life. I smiled. Texted back, congratulations. James emerged with bedhead and a sleepy smile. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. He handed me a small wrapped box. Inside was a keychain, a small house charm with an engraving, "Home is where you choose it." I started crying. Too much? James asked, concerned. No, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Because it was true. Home wasn't the house Jennifer left me. Home wasn't even Santa Fe necessarily. Home was this moment, this choice, this life I'd built from nothing. Home was choosing myself every single day. That afternoon, another text arrived. Alan's number not blocked on my new phone. Mom, I know you said not to contact you, but I need you to know I'm 1 year sober today. I'm teaching financial literacy to seniors at a community center. Pro bono, trying to give back what I took. You don't need to respond. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. Not for you, for me. Merry Christmas. Alan, I read it 5 times. Typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, I'm proud of you. That's the truth. But I still need distance. Maybe someday that will change. Maybe it won't. Keep being better, not for me, but for you. I sent it. Then I blocked his number again. James found me on the balcony 10 minutes later. You okay? Yeah, just closing a door. For good this time. Regrets. I thought about it. Really thought. No, regret is wishing you'd chosen differently. I chose exactly right. I chose myself. And every morning I wake up in this life I built from nothing, I know I made the right choice. James pulled me close. We stood on the balcony watching snow fall, 2 survivors who'd found each other. June 2028. I stood in a small gallery on Canyon Road. My pottery was on display. Not professional level work, not museum quality, but good enough for a community art show. Good enough that people stopped and looked. Good enough that I felt proud. The piece I was most proud of was a large vase, still slightly lopsided but beautiful in its imperfection, glazed in turquoise and coral New Mexico colors. I titled it What I Kept, because that's what the vase represented. Not what I'd lost, the house, the sun, the illusion of family, but what I'd kept. My dignity, my strength, my ability to start over. Dorothy stood next to me admiring a crooked bowl I'd made. This is wonderful, Michelle. It's a mess, I laughed. It's honest. That's better than perfect. James arrived with coffee. Rita and Elena right behind him. My chosen family, the people who showed up. Father Miguel wandered in, admired my work, blessed it with a smile and a quiet prayer. We stood together in that gallery, surrounded by imperfect art, made by imperfect people trying their best. And I realized something. I was happy. Not in the uncomplicated way I'd been happy before David died. Not in the desperate people-pleasing way I'd been happy with Alan, but deeply, authentically happy. The kind of happiness that comes from building a life that's truly yours. 2 years after I disappeared from Phoenix. I'm 70 years old now. My hair is completely white. I have arthritis in my hands that makes pottery difficult sometimes. But I'm here. I live in Santa Fe with James. We got married last spring, a small ceremony at Our Lady of Guadalupe with just Dorothy, Rita, Elena, and Father Miguel present. I teach ESL 3 mornings a week, make pottery on Thursdays, volunteer at the senior center on weekends helping people avoid financial abuse. I tell my story sometimes, to women who are being isolated by their families, to elderly people who think they have no options, to anyone who needs to hear that it's never too late to choose yourself. People ask if I've forgiven Alan. I don't know. Forgiveness is complicated. Some days I think I have. Other days I remember the messages, target an old woman, too stupid to check statements, and the anger returns. But I've accepted what happened. I've accepted that the son I thought I had never existed. I've accepted that some relationships can't be salvaged even with love and time. And I've accepted that choosing myself disappearing, selling the house, starting over was the right choice. The only choice. Jennifer would understand. She gave me that house to protect me. I honored her gift by protecting myself, even if it meant letting the house go. Sometimes I wonder about Alan, if he's still sober, if he's still trying, if he ever thinks about the mother he lost. But those thoughts don't keep me up at night anymore, because I learned something important in Santa Fe. You can love someone and still know they're dangerous. You can forgive someone and still choose not to see them. You can lose everything and still have enough. I lost my house, my son, my old life, but I found myself. And at 70 years old, sitting on my patio with James, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold, I can honestly say I wouldn't trade this for anything. Not even the fantasy of what my life could have been if my son had been different. Because this life, this small, imperfect, beautiful life, is mine. And that's more than enough. It's everything.